I watched my phone screen in horror. 200 miles from home. My wife stood over our 6-year-old son's bed, duct tape in her hand. But this wasn't the woman I married. This was a monster I'd been living with, and I'd left my baby boy alone with her. Before we continue, please tell us where you're watching from, so we know how far our stories reach, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. My name is Darius Coleman. I'm a long-haul truck driver, 42 years old. Been driving 18-wheelers for the past 15 years. It's good money. Real good money. Enough to buy a nice house in a decent neighborhood outside Atlanta. Enough to give my son Isaiah everything I never had growing up. But that money came with a price. I was gone 3, sometimes 4 weeks at a time. Rolling across America while my family lived their lives without me. For the first 5 years of Isaiah's life, everything seemed fine. My wife Shanice would FaceTime me every night. Isaiah would press his little face up to the screen. "Daddy, when you coming home?" He'd ask, and my heart would break every single time. But Shanice always smiled, always told me we were okay, always said she had everything under control. I believed her. I trusted her with the most precious thing in my life. That was my first mistake. Things started changing about 6 months ago. I noticed it when I came home from a run to California. Isaiah didn't run to the door like he used to. He stayed in his room. When I went to see him, he looked tired. Not just sleepy. Exhausted. Like he hadn't slept in days. Dark circles under his eyes that no 6-year-old should have. "You okay, little man?" I asked him. He nodded, but he wouldn't look at me, wouldn't meet my eyes. "Isaiah, talk to Daddy. What's wrong?" "Nothing," he whispered. His voice was so small, so scared. I looked at Shanice. She smiled that same smile she always gave me. "He's fine, baby. Just been staying up late watching cartoons. You know how kids are." I wanted to believe her, but something felt off. Something in my gut told me this wasn't about cartoons. Over the next few trips, it got worse. Isaiah started flinching when Shanice came near him. He'd jump at sudden sounds, started wetting the bed again, something he hadn't done since he was 3, and he stopped talking almost completely. My happy, chatty little boy became silent as a ghost. I called my sister Keisha. Told her what I was seeing. "Darius, that don't sound right," she said. "That sounds like trauma, like he's scared of something." "Scared of what?" I asked. "He's safe at home with his mama." "Is he, though?" That question hit me like a freight train. Is he? I'd been assuming Shanice was taking care of him, being the mother our son needed. But what if I was wrong? What if something was happening in that house while I was gone? Something I couldn't see from 2,000 miles away. I came home early from my next run, told my dispatcher I had a family emergency, pulled into my driveway at 2 a.m. The house was dark, quiet. I used my key to slip inside, didn't turn on any lights, just moved through the darkness toward Isaiah's room. The door was closed. I pressed my ear against it, heard nothing. Slowly, carefully, I turned the knob and pushed it open. Isaiah was in his bed, asleep. But even in sleep, his face looked tense, worried, like he was having bad dreams. I stood there watching him breathe. My son, my baby boy. And I realized I'd been failing him. I'd been so focused on making money, on providing, that I'd missed the signs that something was destroying him from the inside. I checked on Shanice. She was asleep in our bed, looking peaceful, innocent, like she didn't have a care in the world. But I knew better now. I knew something was wrong. The next morning, I told Shanice I was taking a few days off, needed to spend time with my family, She seemed annoyed by that, actually annoyed that I wanted to be home with my wife and son. "Don't you have bills to pay?" she asked. "Bills can wait," I said. "My family can't." Those 3 days at home were revealing. Shanice was different when I was around. Patient with Isaiah. Gentle. Almost theatrical in how loving she acted. But I saw the way Isaiah watched her, like she was a snake that might strike at any moment. He stayed close to me, held my hand constantly, and at night he begged me not to leave his room. "Daddy, stay with me," he whispered. "Why, little man? You scared of the dark?" He shook his head, but he wouldn't say more. Couldn't say more. Whatever was happening, it had him too terrified to speak. That's when I knew I needed proof. Real proof. Not just a father's intuition. Because if I was going to protect my son, I needed to know exactly what I was protecting him from. I went to an electronics store. Bought a small camera. One of those nanny cams that looks like a regular clock. The kind parents use to watch babysitters. I waited until Shanice took Isaiah to the grocery store. Then I installed it on his dresser. Positioned it so it had a clear view of his bed. Connected it to my phone so I could watch the feed from anywhere. I felt guilty doing it, like I was spying on my own family. But that guilt disappeared the moment I remembered Isaiah's face. The fear in his eyes, the exhaustion, the flinching. Something was happening to my son, and I was going to find out what. But what I found was worse than anything I could have imagined. I left for my next haul 2 days later. A run to Texas that would take me through Louisiana and Arkansas. Long, lonely roads with nothing but my thoughts, and that camera feed on my phone. The first 2 nights were normal. I'd check the feed around bedtime, watch Shanice tuck Isaiah in, kiss his forehead, turn off the light and leave. Isaiah would lay there awake for hours, just staring at the ceiling. But nothing happened. On the 3rd night, everything changed. I was parked at a truck stop outside Little Rock. 2 in the morning. Couldn't sleep. So I opened my phone to check on Isaiah. The room was dark. He was in bed, asleep. Then the door opened. Shanice walked in. I thought maybe he'd had a nightmare. Maybe she was coming to comfort him. But something about the way she moved made my blood run cold. Slow, deliberate, like a predator approaching prey. She stood over his bed for a long moment, just watching him sleep. Then she reached down and shook him awake. Hard. Isaiah's eyes flew open. Even through the camera, I could see the terror in them. Shanice put her finger to her lips, the universal sign for "be quiet." Then she grabbed something from her pocket. Duct tape. My heart stopped. My hands started shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone, because I knew what I was about to see. And I couldn't stop it. Couldn't reach through that screen and protect my baby. Shanice ripped off a piece of tape. Isaiah tried to turn his head away, tried to squirm, but she grabbed his face, held him still, and pressed that tape over his mouth. Then she started hitting him. Not slaps, closed fists. My wife was punching our 6-year-old son in the ribs, in the stomach, while his mouth was taped shut so he couldn't scream. And I was 200 miles away, completely helpless. I screamed. Right there in that truck cab, screamed like a wounded animal. Other truckers probably heard me. Probably thought I'd lost my mind. But I didn't care, because I was watching my son get beaten, watching him try to curl into a ball, try to protect himself, while the woman who gave birth to him rained down blow after blow. The recording function. I had to record this. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely work my phone. But I managed to hit the button, Started recording every second of what I was seeing, because this wasn't just about knowing anymore. This was evidence. This was proof that would send Shanice to prison and get my son away from her forever. She hit him for 3 minutes straight, 3 minutes that felt like 3 hours. Then she ripped the tape off his mouth, leaned down close to his face, and I could see her lips moving. Couldn't hear what she said, but I could guess. "Don't tell Daddy. Don't tell anyone. Or it'll be worse next time." Isaiah was crying silently, tears streaming down his face, but making no sound, because she'd trained him, trained my baby to suffer in silence. Shanice left the room like nothing happened, closed the door gently, like she'd just checked on him before bed, and Isaiah laid there, holding his ribs, crying without making a sound. I couldn't watch anymore, couldn't look at that screen. I threw my phone down, put my head in my hands, and I wept. Wept for my son, for all the nights I'd left him alone with that monster, for every time I'd chosen another haul, another paycheck, over being home to protect him. But crying wasn't going to save Isaiah. Action was. I called Raymond, my brother-in-law, married to my sister Keisha. He picked up on the first ring. "Darius? Man, it's 2 a.m. You good?" "Rabe, I need you to go get my son, right now, tonight." "What? What's going on?" I told him everything, sent him the video, heard him cursing under his breath as he watched it. "That's evil," he said. His voice was shaking with rage. "That's straight-up evil, D. How long this been going on?" "I don't know. Months, maybe. Maybe longer." "Ray, I need you to go get him. Use the spare key I gave you. Get Isaiah out of that house before she does it again." "I'm already getting dressed, Keisha," he yelled. "Get up, baby. We got a situation." "Don't let Shanice see you," I said. "Don't confront her. Just get Isaiah and go. Take him to your house. Keep him safe until I can get there." "How long you gonna be?" "I can be there in 6 hours if I drive straight through. But Ray, if she wakes up while you're there, if she wakes up, she gonna have to deal with me. And trust me, D, I ain't as calm as you. I see a woman beating on a child, on my nephew. That's a problem." I knew what he meant. Raymond was 6'4", former college linebacker, built like a brick house, and he had a temper when it came to people hurting kids. His own son had been bullied in school once. Raymond had shown up at that school and put the fear of God in every child and teacher in that building, got banned from school grounds for a year, but nobody ever touched his son again. "Just get Isaiah safe," I said. "That's all that matters right now." "Consider it done, brother. We on the way." He hung up, and I sat there in that truck, knowing my son was being rescued, but also knowing the hard part was just beginning, because getting Isaiah away from Shanice was only step 1. Keeping him away from her, that was going to be a war. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part came when I started thinking about all the signs I'd missed, all the times Isaiah had tried to tell me something was wrong without saying the words, the flinching, the fear, the exhaustion. He'd been screaming for help in the only way he could, and I'd been too blind to see it. I thought about the night he begged me to stay in his room, the way he'd gripped my hand like I was his lifeline. He wasn't afraid of the dark. He was afraid of his mother, afraid of what she'd do to him once I left again. My phone rang. "Raymond." "We got him," he said. "Isaiah's safe. He's in the car with Keisha right now." "Is he okay? Is he hurt?" "He's got bruises all over his torso, man. Fresh ones, old ones, some that look weeks old. This been going on a while, D. A long while." I felt sick, actually physically sick. Did Shanice wake up? Nah, she was knocked out, sleeping like a baby while her son was suffering down the hall. We slipped in, got Isaiah, and left. Didn't make a sound. But Dee, when she wakes up and finds him gone, she's gonna lose her mind. Let her. I got evidence. I got witnesses. She can lose her mind all she wants. She ain't never touching my son again. What you want us to do now? Take him to your house. Feed him. Let him know he's safe. I'm turning this truck around right now. I'll be there by 8 this morning. Then we're going straight to the police. I ended the call, climbed out of the cab, walked into the truck stop office. The clerk was half asleep behind the counter. I need to leave my truck here, I told him. Emergency. Family emergency. Can someone from my company pick it up later today? He looked at me like I was crazy. You can't just abandon a truck, man. Watch me. I tossed him my keys, gave him my company's number. Then I walked out to the parking lot and called an Uber. Cost me $300 to get a driver willing to take me from Arkansas to Georgia. $300 I didn't think twice about spending, because my son was worth more than any amount of money, more than any job, more than anything in this world. The drive back was the longest of my life. Every minute felt like an hour. I kept checking my phone, looking at that video, watching Shanice beat my baby over and over again, memorizing every detail so I could tell the police exactly what she'd done. I also started thinking about how long this must have been happening. 6 months ago was when I first noticed the changes in Isaiah. But what if it started before that? What if she'd been hurting him for a year? 2 years? What if this started the moment I went back to work after he was born? That thought made me want to vomit. The idea that my son had been suffering for years while I was out on the road, while I was at truck stops talking to other drivers, while I was sleeping in my cab, comfortable and safe, Isaiah was being tortured in his own home. The Uber driver tried to make conversation at first, asked why I was in such a hurry. I told him my son was in the hospital. A lie. But easier than explaining the truth. He went quiet after that. Just drove. Got me to Raymond and Keisha's house by 7:30 in the morning. I burst through their front door. Where is he? Keisha pointed upstairs. In the guest room. Darius, he's pretty shook up. Be gentle. I took the stairs 2 at a time, opened the guest room door, and there was Isaiah, sitting on the bed, still in his pajamas, looking so small, so scared, so broken. He saw me, and his face crumpled. Daddy! I ran to him, scooped him up in my arms, held him so tight I was probably hurting him. But I couldn't let go, couldn't stop hugging my son, my baby, who I'd almost lost to that monster I'd married. I'm sorry, I whispered into his hair. I'm so sorry, little man. I should have known. I should have protected you. He was sobbing into my shoulder, shaking like a leaf. She said if I told you, she'd hurt me worse. She said you'd leave us if you knew. She said it was my fault for being bad. No, I said firmly. None of this is your fault. You hear me? None of it. You didn't do anything wrong. Mama did. And she's never gonna hurt you again. I promise you that. You promise? I promise on everything I love. You're safe now, Isaiah. You're safe. But even as I said it, I knew the truth. Isaiah wasn't safe. Not really. Not until Shanice was behind bars. Because right now, legally, she was still his mother. Still had parental rights, still could walk into a police station and demand her son back. And that's when my phone rang, Shanice's name flashing on the screen. She'd woken up, found Isaiah gone. And now she was calling me. Probably to spin some lie. Probably to act like the concerned mother. Probably to manipulate me the way she'd been manipulating me for years. I answered. Put it on speaker. because I wanted everyone in that house to hear what kind of person she really was. "Darius, where is Isaiah?" Her voice was panicked, frantic. I woke up and he's not in his room. His bed's empty. "Where is our son?" "He's safe," I said coldly, which is more than I can say about when he was with you. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then, "What are you talking about?" "I know what you've been doing to him, Shanice. I got it all on video. Every hit, every punch, the duct tape, all of it." More silence. But this time I could hear it. The change in her breathing. The shift from fake panic to real fear. "Darius, I don't know what you think you saw. I saw you beat our 6-year-old son. I saw you tape his mouth shut so he couldn't scream. I saw you turn him into a scared, broken little boy who flinches every time someone moves too fast. And I got evidence, real evidence, the kind that sends people to prison." "You're crazy," she hissed. And there it was, the real Shanice. No more fake sweetness, no more concerned mother act, just venom. "You can't prove anything. That's your son, too. You can't just take him. Watch me. And Shanice, don't come looking for us, because the next time I see you, it's going to be in court, where a judge is going to make sure you never touch Isaiah again." I hung up, looked at Raymond and Keisha. "We need to go to the police," I said. "Right now, before she tries something." Raymond nodded. "I'll drive. Keisha, you stay here with Isaiah." But Isaiah grabbed my hand. "Don't leave me, Daddy. Please don't leave me." "I'm not going anywhere without you, little man. You're coming with us. We're going to fix this together." We piled into Raymond's car, Isaiah sitting in my lap, still holding on to me like I might disappear. And as we drove to the police station, my phone started blowing up, text after text from Shanice. "You're ruining our family. Isaiah needs his mother. You're going to regret this. I'll fight you for custody. I'll take everything." And then the final one, the one that told me exactly who I'd been married to all these years. He deserved it. He was being disobedient. You were never home. Someone had to discipline him. My hands were shaking as I screenshot every single message, added them to the evidence file I was building, because Shanice had just confessed, in writing, that she'd been abusing our son, and now she was going to pay for every single bruise on his body. Detective Monique Hayes looked at the video once, just once. Then she closed her laptop and looked at me with eyes that had seen too much evil in this world. "Mr. Coleman," she said quietly, "this is one of the worst cases of child abuse I've seen in my 15 years on this job, and I've seen a lot." We were in an interview room at the DeKalb County Police Department. Me, Raymond, Isaiah, and Detective Hayes. Isaiah was sitting in my lap, still hadn't let go of my hand. The detective had tried to talk to him separately, but he'd started hyperventilating, so she let him stay with me. "How long do you think this has been going on?" she asked. "I don't know. Months at least, maybe longer." I pulled up Isaiah's shirt, showed her the bruises. Some were fresh, purple and angry. Others were yellow and green, fading. These older ones, they could be weeks old, maybe months. Detective Hayes took photos, documented every mark, every injury. Then she looked at Isaiah, spoke to him gently. "Isaiah, honey, I need to ask you some questions. Is that okay?" He nodded. "Barely." "How long has your mama been hurting you?" Isaiah looked up at me, like he needed permission to tell the truth. I squeezed his hand. "It's okay, little man. You can tell her." "A long time," he whispered, "since Daddy started going away on the long trips. She said I cried too much, said I was too loud, said I made her head hurt." "How often did she hurt you?" Every time Daddy left. The first night he'd be gone, she'd come to my room. She'd tell me the rules. No crying, no asking for Daddy, no being loud. If I broke the rules, she'd come back at night and... He trailed off, started crying. I felt something break inside me. Because every time Daddy left meant dozens of times, maybe hundreds. Every single haul I'd taken for the past year or more. My son had been beaten. Terrorized, traumatized, while I was out making money to give him a better life. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd been destroying my son's life, trying to improve it. Detective Hayes finished her interview, took copies of all my evidence, the video, the screenshots of Shanice's texts, photos of Isaiah's injuries. Then she stood up. "Mr. Coleman, I'm placing a warrant out for your wife's arrest. Child abuse charges, multiple counts, and I'm recommending to the district attorney that we pursue the maximum sentence." "How long is that?" 10 to 20 years, depending on how many charges stick and whether she takes a plea deal. She paused. "But Mr. Coleman, I need to be real with you. The family court system is separate from criminal court. Even if we arrest her today, she still has parental rights until a judge says otherwise. You need to file for emergency custody, today, right now." Raymond spoke up. "I know a lawyer. Reginald Barnes, best family law attorney in Atlanta. Handles cases for the black community. Doesn't lose." "Call him," I said. Within 2 hours, we were in Reginald Barnes's office. He was a distinguished-looking man in his 50s, salt and pepper hair, sharp suit, but kind eyes. The kind of eyes that told you he'd seen families torn apart and put back together 1,000 times. He watched the video, read Shanice's texts, examined the photos of Isaiah's bruises. Then he leaned back in his chair. "This is clear-cut child abuse," he said, "but I need to prepare you for what's coming. Your wife is going to fight this. She's going to claim you're lying, that you manipulated the evidence, that you're trying to alienate Isaiah from his mother. And the family court system, it's biased toward mothers, even abusive ones." "But I have proof," I said. "Proof can be explained away. Shanice will get her own lawyer. They'll claim the video is taken out of context, that she was disciplining Isaiah, not abusing him, that black parents have different cultural norms around discipline. They'll use every trick in the book." That thought made me sick. The idea that someone could watch that video and call it discipline. But I knew he was right. Shanice wasn't going to go down without a fight. "What do I need to do?" I asked. "File for emergency custody today. I'll have the papers ready in an hour. We'll go before a judge tomorrow morning. With your evidence, we should get a temporary custody order and a restraining order. But the real battle comes later. The custody hearing. That's where Shanice will bring her A-game." He was right about all of it. The emergency custody hearing was quick. Judge Clarence Woods took one look at the evidence and granted me temporary full custody. Issued a restraining order. Shanice wasn't allowed within 500 feet of Isaiah. Wasn't allowed to contact him. Wasn't allowed at our house. But that didn't stop her from trying. She called me 60 times that first day, left voicemails crying, begging, threatening, claiming I'd stolen her son, that I'd ruined her life, that she'd make me pay. Then her mother called, Mrs. Patricia Coleman, my mother-in-law, and what she said changed everything. "Darius, you need to bring Isaiah back home. Shanice is his mother. She has a right to see him." "She has no rights," I said. "She abused him." The courts agreed. She was disciplining him. That's what parents do. You're being dramatic. Dramatic. She punched him in the ribs, taped his mouth shut, terrorized him night after night. "Oh, Darius, you act like you're so perfect. You were never home. Shanice was raising that boy alone. Sometimes children need firm correction." You're just too soft." And there it was, the truth I hadn't wanted to see. Shanice's mother knew, had probably always known, maybe had even told Shanice this was acceptable, had normalized the abuse, encouraged it even. "Did you know?" I asked quietly. "Did you know she was hurting Isaiah?" Silence. Long, telling silence. "Answer me," I said. "Did you know your daughter was beating my son?" "Shanice called me sometimes," Mrs. Coleman finally said. "Said Isaiah was being difficult. Said he wouldn't listen. I told her to handle it, to not let that boy disrespect her. A child needs discipline, Darius, needs structure. You were never there to prevent it, so Shanice had to." I hung up on her, because if I'd stayed on that call one more second, I would have said things I couldn't take back. Mrs. Coleman had known, had condoned it, had probably done the same thing to Shanice when she was a child. This was generational, cyclical, abuse passed down like a family recipe. But it stopped here, with Isaiah. I would make sure of that. The criminal trial happened first. 3 months after Isaiah's rescue, Shanice pleaded not guilty, claimed the video was manipulated, that I was a vengeful husband trying to destroy her, that she'd never hurt Isaiah, that he was clumsy and bruised easily. But the jury didn't buy it, not with the video evidence, not with Isaiah's testimony, not with the medical examiner's report that showed a pattern of abuse, old fractures that had healed wrong, bruises in various stages of healing, evidence of sustained, repeated trauma. They convicted her on all counts. Judge Woods sentenced her to 15 years in prison. No chance of parole for at least 10. Shanice screamed when they read the verdict, actually screamed in the courtroom, called me terrible names, threatened to kill me when she got out, had to be physically dragged away by bailiffs. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief. Just emptiness. The custody hearing came 2 weeks later. With Shanice in prison, it should have been simple. But her family hired a lawyer, tried to get Mrs. Coleman awarded custody, claimed I was an unfit father because of my job, because I was never home. Because I'd left Isaiah with Shanice in the first place. Reginald Barnes destroyed their arguments, pointed out that I'd taken immediate action the moment I discovered the abuse, that I'd given up my trucking job permanently, that I'd moved to a new house in a different county so Isaiah could have a fresh start, that I was in therapy with Isaiah, working with child psychologists, doing everything humanly possible to help him heal. Judge Woods awarded me sole custody, terminated Shanice's parental rights completely. She would never be Isaiah's legal mother again. But that wasn't even the hardest part. The hardest part came later, in the quiet moments, when Isaiah would wake up screaming from nightmares, when he'd flinch if I moved too fast, when he'd ask over and over, "You're not leaving, right, Daddy? You're staying home." I'd given up my trucking career, taken a job at a local warehouse, 9 to 5, home every night, weekends off. The pay was less than half what I used to make. We'd had to downsize, sell the nice house, move into a smaller apartment, give up the comfortable life I'd worked so hard to build. But Isaiah needed me, and no amount of money was worth missing his childhood, worth risking his safety, worth being absent again. 6 months after Shanice's conviction, Isaiah's therapist told me something that broke my heart all over again. "Isaiah's trauma is deep," Dr. Williams said. "He may never fully trust people again, especially women, especially authority figures. His mother was supposed to be his safe place, and she became his worst nightmare. That kind of betrayal, it rewires a child's brain, changes how they see the world." "Will he be okay?" I asked. "Define okay. Will he survive? Yes. Will he grow up? Yes. Will he ever feel completely safe? Probably not. But with love, therapy, and time, he can learn to manage his trauma, learn to live with it, and that's the best we can hope for. I thought about that a lot, about how Shanice had stolen something from Isaiah that he could never get back. His innocence, his ability to trust, his childhood, and all because I'd been chasing money, chasing the American dream, trying to give him everything while missing the one thing he actually needed. Me, present, aware, protecting him. 2 years later, Isaiah is 8 years old now. He's in therapy twice a week, takes medication for anxiety, still has nightmares sometimes, still struggles with trusting people. But he laughs now, plays with other kids, does well in school, and most importantly, he knows he's safe. We have a routine. Every night before bed, I sit with him, tell him I love him, remind him that he's safe, that no one will ever hurt him again, that I'm not going anywhere. "You promise, Daddy?" he always asks. I promise, little man. And I mean it, because I learned the hard way that being a provider means nothing if you're not there to protect what you've provided for, that money can't replace presence, that a big house means nothing if the people inside it aren't safe. Shanice is in prison, won't be eligible for parole until Isaiah is 16. By then, he'll be old enough to decide if he ever wants to see her again. My guess? He won't. Some wounds don't heal. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. Mrs. Coleman tried to visit once. Showed up at our apartment claiming she wanted to see her grandson. I called the police, had her removed. She's not allowed near Isaiah either, because she enabled the abuse, knew about it, let it happen. And that makes her just as guilty in my eyes. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I hadn't installed that camera, if I'd just kept trusting Shanice, kept going out on the road, kept missing the signs. Isaiah might not have survived. Or worse, he might have grown up thinking that kind of treatment was normal, might have become an abuser himself someday, continuing the cycle. But I caught it, stopped it, saved my son. And even though the cost was high, my marriage, my career, my comfortable life, it was worth it. Because Isaiah is alive. He's healing. And he knows his father loves him enough to sacrifice everything to keep him safe. That's what being a father really means. Not the paycheck, not the nice house, not the toys and clothes and vacations. It means being there, being present, being willing to burn your whole life down if that's what it takes to protect your child. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Thanks for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please leave a like and subscribe. Have you experienced something similar? Share your story in the comments below.